Susania and Little Newsiers present BoxerBlu and Bram.
Hey you, are you 6? I am. My name's Bram.
And I'm Jake, Bram's dad, but some people call me BoxerBlu. Blah! And here is the news.
Dad, I don't want to go to this. I don't want to go to the beach.
Bram, it's no big deal. It's just some jellyfish.
No. It's a big deal. Last time I got stung, and so I'm staying away from that beach.
Hi, boys and girls. It's November 2021. We're in New Jersey, and so it was a little crazy, but we decided to go to the beach. And my son Bram, he got stung.
I got stung right between the.
We don't need to go all the details, Bram.
Yes, but it hurts. And now I'm scared. I'm just kind of scared to go to the beach.
I understand.
So our first bit of news, this is pretty amazing. I love this. It's like maybe the coolest thing in the world. There was a soldier in World War II. His name was Martin Adler. And at the time, he was like 20 years old. And he was in Italy in this little town called Cassano di Montezegno. Something like that, right? Near Bologna, right? So he was near Bologna, about 40 kilometers south of Bologna. And he was with another soldier. And, they had orders to shoot people, just to make sure that things were I don't know exactly what they were doing, but they were shooting guns.
Yes, and so he was about to, I guess he opened a basket and he was going to fire a gun, and all of a sudden a lady jumped out and said, No, don't hurt the babies, don't hurt them. And inside were kids. There were 2 girls and 1 boy, and they were in these baskets. And of course, Martin Adler, an American soldier, he didn't hurt the children, of course. And years later, recently, this was just a few months ago, one of the grown-up children, she basically wanted to cheer up her own father, Martin Adler's daughter, and she wanted to try to find these kids who, of course, now are quite old themselves. They must be about, in their 60s or 70s or something like that themselves. And so basically she went to social media. What's social media? Oh, social media. It's like, Facebook and things like that. And she found an author who writes books on things like that. And gradually it came to Italian television. And one of these kids, who again are now in their 70s or so, they saw it in Italy. They saw the picture of Martin Adler, who's now 97 years old, with these kids. It was October 1944. And the siblings are called the WW2 siblings, and they met each other.
That's so cool. That's like the coolest thing in the world. Oh my gosh, that's a real true reunion. It makes me so happy to hear that.
Yes. Douche.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah?
I want to do the chop.
Bram, I'm not sure what you're talking about. The chop. What exactly is the chop?
Oh, the chop. That's really cool. So, it's like a new way to play the violin, So people, if you don't know this, a violin and a fiddle are kind of the same thing, just different ways to play them, right?
Yes, I think I know what you're saying. So the chop is this thing, and it sounds like this. Yes, and so the chop, it's been around now for 50 years. It's in bluegrass. What's bluegrass? Oh, bluegrass sounds like this. And it's been in jazz. What's jazz? Oh, jazz is like this. In Celtic music. What's Celtic music? Oh, Celtic music sounds like this.
And it's in funk too, right?
Oh, yes, I love funk. Funk is some of my favorite music, like George Clinton. Oh boy, yes, this is funk.
composers, they're using the chop, right? So, but the chop's been around for a while now, so some of the composers, like Kenji Bunch and Jessica Meyer and Daniel Bernard Ruman.
Yes, and Mimi Rabson too. Yes, they're all using the chop, and it's pretty cool.
Yes, and so like this professor, her name's Laura Risk. She's an assistant professor of music and culture at the University of Toronto in Scarborough. She basically, she's been researching the chop.
Yes, and so she learned that in 1966, that's when the chop really came into play.
Yes, it was a bluegrass fiddler named Richard Green. It was like a basic chop.
Yes, so now these musicologists, they're basically, they found a way to write the chop down in music. It's very important to do this because when you write down what the chop is, of course, then it makes sure that, it can be studied in the future, that people can play the chop.
Yes, that's so cool.
It's so cool, yes. So basically, these musicologists are Oriel Sanya and Casey Dreesen, and they call this the Chop Notation Project.
And do you know what the chop notation looks like?
I do. It's pretty cool. It's just an X.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome.
Douche. Bram, some people say that when I go, they often say that I might have Tourette's syndrome like that, but I'm not sure what Tourette's syndrome is. Do you, Bram?
Well, Tourette's syndrome, it's a serious problem with your nerves, right? There's a system of messages in your brain, and basically the system of nerves, if you have Tourette's syndrome, you often have what they call a tic. It means you kind of like, you might say something you don't mean to say, or do something you don't mean to do.
Yes, so I definitely don't have Tourette syndrome, but I did hear about this researcher named Kirsten Müller-Vahl.
Yes, a psychiatrist at the Hanover Medical School. There was a YouTube video of a person named Jan Zimmerman.
You mean Jan Zimmerman?
No, Jan Zimmerman.
Oh, yes, in Germany, I guess.
Yes, in Germany.
So Germany, as you know, is very close to location 25.
Oh, yes, location 25, that's right. Yes, so Jan Zimmerman basically has Tourette's syndrome, and he says certain things like, you are ugly, chip flying sharks, and things like that. And this researcher noticed that people were starting to I don't want to say copy, because it's like they had the same Tourette syndrome. So the scientist was very concerned about this.
Oh, yes. I do understand, right? So Jan Zimmerman has it just like they have on TikTok now. There are many people who are, using TikTok to show that having Tourette syndrome is not a stigma.
Stigma? That's a word I don't really know.
Oh, stigma. So stigma is like, when you hear something, it's like a bad label. Like a long time ago in the 1980s, for example, just the idea of divorce was such a stigma. It was a bad label. But now,
now it's pretty normal, right? People get divorced sometimes, right? And so it's kind of the way it is.
Yes. So anyway, long story short, this researcher found out by talking to some of these people. These were hundreds of people, by the way, hundreds of people that had this illness, or that seemed to have the same illness. And basically, when they were interviewed, the researcher said, this is actually not Tourette syndrome. This is something more like mass hysteria, right? It's a psychogenic illness. It's not from your nerves.
It's just in your brain. Like they kind of like wanted to believe it or something like that.
Yes, and so this is this happens sometimes. If you've ever heard of the Crucible or the witch hunt back in the 1600s, it was maybe a little bit like that too.
Yes, and in 2011 in Leroy, New York, this kind of happened where people were all kind of like, had mass hysteria together.
Yes. But again, Tourette syndrome is a very serious affliction, but it's nothing to have a stigma about, and it's natural. It's in the nervous system. Douche. Bram, something about New Jersey that I don't like that much is like we can't really look at the stars.
Yeah, I know. Like I don't know if you heard about Carolyn Shoemaker. So she was like an amateur astronomer, basically, right? She was known as the hunter of comets, right? Comets and asteroids. She's a record-setting spotter of UFOs.
Oh, a UFO. Oh, yes. An unidentified flying object. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so basically, after her kids grew up, like when she was 50 years old or so, she had no academic studying or anything like that as an astronomer or anything like that. But she started looking at the stars and at the heavens, right? At Palomar Observatory near San Diego. She would stay up all night with her husband, and basically, they took photos. They used a stereoscope, and they compared photos of the night sky at different times. And they would see that there were asteroids, and there were comets, and there were all these things. So in 1983, she found her first comet. And by 1994, she and her husband found hundreds of asteroids and 32 comets and all these different things.
And one very special one, right? The Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet, right?
Yes, that was cool. That was like a collision course with Jupiter, right? It was crazy. It was like an atmospheric fireball of madness.
Yes, she was actually in the New York Times and Time magazine at the time. It's pretty amazing. So Bram, why are you telling me all this?
Oh, because she died.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that.
Douche.
Dad, I don't think we talk about recycling enough.
Oh, yes, recycling. That's something we should definitely talk about more.
Yes, so, in New York City, they have these cozy dining cabins.
Oh, yes. You mean by the Peaches Kitchen and Bar, right?
Yes, they're called friendship bottles. They're like Lego-like plastic bricks.
Oh, yes. These are these recycled plastic bottles, right? That are I guess made in Toronto, and they're very good for disaster relief.
What's disaster relief?
Oh, well, if there's a disaster like a hurricane or a terrible flood or something like that, and you need to have a shelter.
What's a shelter?
Bram, you know what a shelter is?
I don't remember.
Oh, a shelter, it's basically, it's protection. It's like a house you could live in.
Yeah, so these friendship bottles at the Rensselaer Polytech Institute in New York, a professor there named Joshua Draper, he's been leading this, right? He's a lecturer with the Center for Architecture and Science and Ecology. And basically, he's been designing this just to kind of to save the world.
Oh, yes. We would all love to save the world.
Well, we're out of time. It seems like a long time since we've talked, but we like to say that it's so cool that Little News Ears has so many new people.
Yes, we're becoming a very, very big family. Yes, cartoon characters and diverse jugglers. Well, maybe no jugglers, but lots of people.
Yes. So, Dad, I've decided I'm going to go and check out. I'm going to the beach. I'm not afraid anymore of the jellyfish man.
Oh, good job, Bram. I love you so much.
I love you too, Dad. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time, which I guess will be December. Okay, bye. Don't forget to check out LittleNewsEars.com, where you can see every single video and listen to every single podcast of all of our shows.
And there are also tons of other things to see and listen to on YouTube and major podcasting platforms.
May your sweetness shine.
And your colors glow. Blah! Sources for this broadcast include the New York Times, Fast Company, and Wired.